All right, we are back. This is Creativity is the Cure. I'm your host, Malcolm Moore, and today I have a very special guest, my good friend, Steve Petersen. How you doing, Steve?
Good. Thank you, Malcolm. Thanks for having me.
So Steve is known as a creative director, but I just want to read to everybody a little bit of what he does because this is nuts. Video editing, visual design, brand design, management consulting, advertising, brand marketing, content strategy, writing, and video production. And I know, because I know you do a lot more than that too.
Yes.
And the way that we know each other are a few things. I was a teacher for 12 years at a school that his daughter, Vi, went to, another great filmmaker, which we'll talk about later. And also, I did my own show 3 years ago, a live theater show called Mr. Malcolm's Music Factory. And Steve was kind enough to make me a really cool animated logo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
my pleasure.
Steve's a pretty good drummer, too.
Oh, man. You were easy for me to get my drummer bug on.
Who's the drummer that you like?
Neil Peart.
Oh, you can't go wrong with that.
Phil Collins.
Phil Collins.
And of course, Taylor
Hawkins.
Foo Fighters. Yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky to meet him a couple times. A phenomenal drummer.
Yeah.
So great. And his band's by himself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, very unique drummer.
Oh, really?
And personality.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, how interesting, though, to have him as your dad. And then I saw some shows where his son, would get on stage with the Foo Fighters and totally just crush it.
And Taylor was a great singer, too.
A lot of
people didn't know that, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And then through that whole thing and us watching Taylor and the Foo Fighters, Vi and I got exposed to Nandi. I forget her last name.
Nandi's great. Still out there killing it, yeah. She's a young Afro-American drummer.
Mm-hmm.
I think first time I saw her, she was like 5 or 6. She's always, and it's not only drums. She can play a lot of other instruments like bass and guitar.
Right. In a way that you can just see the music possess her.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm good at this instrument. It's just like, boom, it just can.
Yeah, and the smile on her face.
Yeah,
she's very emotive and incredible.
Awesome.
Good feel. And yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get deep into anything, I would like to go way, way back in time to when Steve was very young. What is your first creative memory?
I guess the first creative memory would be, I mean, it seems kind of boring, but it was like a science project. I think I must have been in 4th or 5th grade, and it was the typical project that everybody probably has done at one point, the planets. Yeah. You know, my mom brought home a bunch of like little styrofoam balls, and I had the trifold thing, and then just did it. But then you painted the planets and the whole thing, and you know, at the end, seeing it all kind of come together. It was a very basic idea. But
you made your own solar system.
Yeah, made your own hanging little solar system in the trifold with some little sticks and stuff, and that was cool.
Wow, that's amazing. And you're still creating environments now, so it was the beginning.
Yeah, now with 3D software, not styrofoam balls, but
yeah. So how did you originally get into working in film and TV and the other types of things you do? You told me earlier today that a lot of your work today is commercials. That's the bulk of your work. So how did you get into that business?
Gosh, the quick time warp of it all. I grew up in Miami, basically in the 1980s, and there was a lot of production in Miami around then. At the time, there was Miami Vice was shooting there, and
oh wow, right.
Miami was always just a hub for a lot of print because the light was always great year round. So in all the other countries, there was always stuff shooting in Miami. So I remember at the time the shows on TV that I'd watch were like Different Strokes and Silver Spoons. And I told my mom, like, oh, I want to do that. That looks so cool. So she got me headshots and, put me out there. And my background is my mom was born in Cuba. She looks Asian. She's Korean. So my grandfather, my mom's side of the family is from Seoul, Korea. She was born in Cuba. So I'm Cuban and Korean.
Wow.
My father is Caucasian-American. So when I was younger, I just looked a lot more Asian.
Right.
And so I would always get cast as like the Asian kid in stuff. Like
I didn't know you had a background with acting. That's cool.
Yeah, child actor, and I did commercials, but I was always cast as the Asian kid. And I was in 2 Miami Vice episodes.
No way.
One was this
oh my God.
son of a Japanese business guy in this really cool episode where some guy was in a cryogenic chamber. And then there's a shootout, and then, Don Johnson shows up on the boat and saves the day.
Yeah.
And another one, I was a homeless Vietnamese kid on the wild Vietnamese homeless streets of Miami. Which never didn't exist, but
we got to find these clips. I got to see them.
They're hilarious. I have a close-up with Don Johnson yelling at me. It's awesome. But then I just quickly felt that I love seeing the camera department and the trucks and the guys making with the lights.
The nuts and bolts of everything.
That was way more interesting to me than being in front. And I was always back then in the late 80s, 90s, there wasn't like directing tracks and production tracks in school like there are now.
Right.
The closest you can get maybe was like a video club or something later in high school. But so I just was in acting and theater because that's as much as close as I could get to figuring out how to make that stuff.
Right. And you're like me. We were talking about like Super 8 films, and that's all there was back then, right?
Super 8, and then my grandfather had one of the very first VHS machines.
Giant.
It was 2-part. Yeah, you had to carry the recorder cable to the thing. So I'd always take that and make movies and stuff. And then
you're like the AV guy.
Yeah, it's totally the AV dude.
Whenever you were acting on set, like Miami Vice, you know, I know actors, when they do this, you do your part and then you wait forever in a trailer.
Yeah.
So did you spend any of that time walking around, like looking at the cameras and asking people, what are you doing? How does this work?
Oh, yeah. That's what happened. The AD would be looking for me because I wouldn't be in actors holding. I'd be in the camera truck or talking to the guys or going to the makeup.
And you're like,
place.
What's a grip? What's a gaffer?
Yeah. It was just the coolest thing to see. The wizard behind the curtain, how the magic came together. And then you see it on TV and you're like, wow, it takes all that to make, you know, and that was fascinating to me. Yeah. So then one thing led to another. And then I went to college in Syracuse for film.
What did you think about the difference in weather?
Oh my God, man.
Syracuse is brutal.
It was insane. It was terrible. They trick you because you go, they invite you there during the spring to welcome the new students. The most beautiful, perfect.
They would never invite you during the winter.
Of course not. You're there on the most beautiful day, and it's amazing. And then that's the last time you see sun for like 8 months.
Yeah,
you know that it's just brutality. It's like
Alaska,
winter brutality. Because if it's not really snowing, you get lake effects. It's always snowing and freezing and cold and
bitter.
Yeah, so it was rough. I chose Syracuse because I wanted to get away from home.
Right.
You know, and it was the furthest place I can get. I didn't think about the seasons of the weather really. And then...
What was your major?
Film.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, film art. Yeah, and film theater and film art both.
So it was what, late 80s, early 90s?
92.
Nice.
Yeah, 92. It was a great school in terms of like, we had as film students there, we had access to all the equipment we wanted. You know, so you could just check out equipment and go make movies. I know other film schools were like, you kind of were in certain tracks or paths, like producing track or camera track, or, you know, but this one was great. You just sort of crew up and everybody would sort of crew in each other's projects and you always had a different role and a lot of gear.
So you might make a movie that you're directing, but you hire one of your classmates to be the cinematographer and somebody to write. You all work together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Learning teamwork.
Yep. Then after that, I moved back to Florida, Miami, and worked at a TV station startup there. And then as a promo producer, and the promo department there was great because it was a TV network called WAMI, WAMI, which was USA Broadcasting. Barry Diller started like this series of stations around the country. That was his idea to, instead of all the shows being created in Los Angeles and then being pumped out to the rest of the country where maybe people in Minnesota couldn't relate to Baywatch because they didn't have that culture. Like starting little networks in kind of these key anchor cities around the country, and the regional content would feel more relatable.
Right.
So Miami station was the first kind of flagship, and we got to shoot a lot. So we got to, you know, we didn't have a lot of money, so a lot of our shows were syndicated old shows like Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
You know, I forget all the kind of these old shows we had, but we'd get to go out and shoot original promos to promote the shows instead of just,
that's cool.
Yeah. Instead of just editing a promo out of the clips, which we did a lot. Once in a while we'd get to shoot something. So that was great. I got to, you know, kind of keep the muscle, you know, worked out by shooting promos all the time and writing and, you know,
learning all the gear.
Yeah. Learning the gear. Then I moved out here in 2000 and, as a producer editor, and worked at a shop that cut all the promos for like Fox. I worked on Judge Judy, X-Files, and Third Rock from the Sun. Oh, I made all the promos for them at this company nearby called Studio City was the name of the promo company.
You did some work for Mark Snow at the X-Files.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to cut some trailers for him. That's as close as I got to Mark Snow.
Or no, actually, I'm sorry, right? Mark Snow was the music guy.
The composer, Chris Carter. Chris Carter was the creator.
Sorry, yeah, and sadly, Mark Snow just passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He was great. But that must have been amazing.
Yeah.
Working with those guys. I mean, that was 10 years of a show, right?
Yeah, that was incredible. Yeah, and then in 2003, I ended up starting my design studio, Big Machine, with my business partner, Ken. And that was awesome. Like we started doing promo, making promos,
What made you want to start your business instead of keep doing it the same way?
Honestly,
More options or?
It was one of these things where it just sort of came to us, this opportunity where one of my old clients wanted me to make him a presentation tape. He was starting a new network. He was one of the guys that started the station in Miami with Barry Diller, and we were pals. And he was like, "Hey, I want to start a new network called PAN, the Pan Asian Network." This was before all the specialty networks were out, like BET, Black Entertainment Television, and there was just like Telemundo and Univision for Latinos. But he's like, there's nothing that serves Asian Americans in that specific type of culture and stuff. So so it was really cool. So he had a chunk of money. It was like, I don't know, back then, and this was what, 2003 or 2003. Yeah. It was probably like 70 grand, and was like, I've got this money, and I need a sizzle tape. And it was a huge amount of money at the time, like for me. So and a big responsibility. So I asked a buddy of mine, who lived in Santa Monica, and I lived in Glendale, kind of across town, and if he wanted to come together and help me make this, and we had about 2 or 3 months to make this thing. Right. So we rented an office between us in Hollywood. So that just kind of happened. So with that money we rented our office, we were making this project. And while we were there, about a month in, we're like, gosh, we hired a bunch of freelancers to help us with animation and editors cutting all the stuff together. And then we're like, I knew a couple of people that were well connected into like business development and just knew how to talk to clients. And
right.
So we hired one and brought him in. We're like, well, maybe we can just have keep this going.
Kind of organically just came
total
together.
Organically. Yeah. Wow. It wasn't like, let's start a business. It was
it was probably nice because you learn as you go.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, totally. My partner, Ken, was a lot more sort of business minded and had more acumen in that way than I did, but so many mistakes. We definitely learned as we went. And all the things. And that's how that company came together.
Here we are 2 decades later.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we ended it in 2019, but that was 17 years of an awesome run.
Wow.
And, in that time we went on we grew the company. We made tons of commercials and did tons of visual effects and title sequences, like for Jumanji 1 and 2, and a whole bunch of...
Didn't you do Ancient Aliens?
No.
You didn't do the title for that? I thought you did.
Not Ancient. We did Chasing UFOs. We did a whole bunch of show titles for Nat Geo and History Channel shows. Tons of commercials for those guys. A lot of main titles for movies on Netflix. And then we started making TV shows. And then I won that Emmy.
Wow. I didn't know about that.
For one, for Nat Geo that we made called Future Cats. So
yes, I do remember Future Cats.
Yeah, it was great.
When you were growing up, were your parents creative, and do you ever find yourself going about your life now going, wow, I'm really good at that. I think I got that from my mom, or I think I got that from my dad.
Probably my mom. She was an artist. She was a teacher, but she was very artistic. So she's a great painter and super artistic. So I don't know, arts and crafts were kind of around, and she always was very like supportive and
making stuff.
Yeah. Just with, art, visual art, with her hands. And
what about your dad?
Nope. My dad worked at a auto parts store.
Right.
So
but I think to do something like that, you have to be very organized and sharp-minded. And you're one of the few people I know that artistic, also sharp-minded and organized. So maybe you got some of that from your dad, like running a business and,
Yeah. Yeah, quite possibly. And the schools, my junior high, because of the whole theater thing and that I was chatting about before, my mom put me in like a magnet school, that had like a really great theater program.
Right.
And then the school also had a bunch of other art stuff happening there too. So all my pals were always friends. And
that was my next question. Did you grow up in a creatively supportive environment? It sounds like you did. Like they were really behind what you wanted to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Luckily. Yeah. My mom was always super supportive. of that. Yeah, my mom and dad.
Tell me who one of your favorite directors is and why. Who inspires you?
You know, it's funny because not knowing this, but different film schools have sort of, they're known for the type of projects and movies and filmmakers. You know, Syracuse was very avant-garde. Like we studied, you know, all the people were always like,
I mean, like Fellini and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Andy Warhol and
oh, that's even more out there.
Yeah, and all these like avant-garde video artists and stuff. Like we'd have to watch Andy Warhol's like 4 hours of a guy sleeping, 6 hours of fog rolling over the Empire State Building, like that kind of stuff. I've always loved like, you know, the mainstream filmmakers, like, you know, the USC guys like Lucas and Coppola. Yeah. And I know Spielberg didn't go there, but honorary, he's kind of considered
part of the team there.
Yeah, because just communicating, you know, to a broad audience, to me, it's just it's a way to tell stories and communicate. So the broad filmmakers have always been kind of my favorite, and that's what I enjoy cinema for. Movies and now TV is like just as great as movies. But yeah, as a
you know, you're making me think of is Ice Cube. They once asked him when he went from movies like Boys in the Hood to like these family movies he started doing. They're like, why are you doing that? And he goes, well, think about this. Do you want one person going to your movie, or do you want everybody in the family going to your movie?
Right. Yeah.
Sounds like the same thing. You know, you want to reach as many people as you can, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't nerf the message that you're trying to tell. If you have something to say, it doesn't mean like, oh, well, those filmmakers aren't saying it. It's like, no, you could still, if you have something special or unique to say, if you can say it in a way that can reach and communicate and touch a lot of people, that's just that's more effective than if you do it in, I don't mean to trash avant-garde and say artsy in a way that's derogatory or less than. Yeah. But you know, it may not be as accessible or broad as filmmakers that are more commercial. Like I love J.J. Abrams. You know, he makes huge, wide, crazy, big movies, franchise films, but he's awesome. They're fun. They're exciting.
One of the things that I loved he did was Super 8 for a couple of reasons. And he did that with Spielberg, right?
Yeah.
And what I loved is I'm around the same age, and the way he portrayed being a young kid in the early 80s, nailed it.
Yeah.
I was like, I was back there. So not only was it a fun, really wild movie that everybody can relate to, you know, he really knew how to grab that time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard. And now, you know, being a little bit more mature in filmmaking and from commercials and even developing long form projects and stuff, and seeing what it takes to get an idea from your head, you know, onto the screen in the same way to translate it. It's so epically difficult. It's so hard. Like there's so many variables and things and unknowns and the nuances that every department and every actor bring to it that can change it or, you know, shape it. To still be able to communicate that, especially in a commercial way, when a lot of times if it's not your job, like on a commercial, I don't mean commercial film, I mean actual 30-second commercial, you know, you're just hired to do the art director, creative director, copywriter's vision from the agency.
Right.
So you have to be that person and be able to take the script or the storyboard and then use all the bits and pieces and translate it into the thing you see, which is so hard.
And be true to that creator.
Still be true to that creator. And then if you're doing it then at a larger scale for 2 hours with a 3-act structure and take an audience on this crazy journey or have suspense in there or thrills in there or jump scares or action, and, you know, it's so hard.
It is.
It's
I mean,
so hard.
I've never told you this, but my favorite director is Terry Gilliam.
Oh, dude,
now,
I love
his movies are not for everybody. I mean, given he's done things like Time Bandits that I remember all the kids went to.
Python,
Yeah. I love his stuff, but I will say it's not for everybody, and it's pretty obscure, especially when you get to like 12 Monkeys and stuff like that. I mean, I like a lot of weird stuff. Like I could mention movies like Liquid Sky or, you know, really weird B-horror movies like this stuff. Not for everybody.
Right.
But I also enjoy ones that everybody can translate to. And we were talking earlier about music, you know, and I brought up Peter Gabriel, who did, you know, really weird stuff with his face melting and then Shock the Monkey and all this stuff. And he had a cult following, but when he did so, his producer, Daniel Lanois, did a couple things. You know, they talked about, let's write some lyrics that everybody can relate to. And he had a rule with him in the studio. He said, I love all the technical stuff that you do, but every song on this album, you have to be able to sit down and play guitar and sing, and it has to be just as strong. So I think those two things, focusing on lyrics and strong music, helped him become a world sensation other than just a cult following.
Oh, wow.
And I think that translates to movies too, right? Can you think of any directors that started out with more obscure movies, but then learned to really put the world in the palm of your hands? I mean, I think of George Lucas with the THX.
Oh yeah, that's a perfect example. Yeah, THX.
Can you think of anybody else like that? I think you were mentioning someone earlier, someone that starts out with some kind of weird movies, but then sometimes they figure their voice out, right?
Right. There's a lot of commercial directors that started as commercials, and a lot of their commercials weren't necessarily
Ridley Scott, right?
narrative. Ridley Scott, his brother, Ridley Antoni.
Yeah.
And then also...
They did the Apple commercial, right? The 1984.
Oh, are they the ones that did that?
Yeah.
Oh, Ridley did? Yeah. I could see that. Now one of the biggest directors, Joseph Kosinski, who did, Maverick, Top Gun, and F1, and Oblivion with Tom Cruise, and Tron, and he started as a commercial guy, but he's like an architect, so all of his stuff was very super beautifully framed. Not necessarily stuff that would translate to like edge of your seat incredible storytelling, which he's good for, but he found his way in it, and I think people try to pigeonhole, and like a lot of producers will look at, I think, commercial directors and think like they're great at making each frame look awesome, but in a movie the whole thing has to be great and work.
Yeah.
And that's something commercial directors have to fight against. I mean, so many people came from that world, like Michael Bay was a commercial guy. Ridley Antoni, his brother. And
in the same category, I remember when music videos were big, a lot of those directors started doing films, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember, Hype Williams did one.
Spike Jonze, too?
Oh, Spike Jonze, yeah. He would be a great example of somebody that you just asked, like, who did weird, obscure stuff. Because his videos are... Oh, Michel Gondry.
Yeah.
Man, that guy, his videos are so trippy and beautiful. Like repetitive, cool, patterny kind of like visuals. And then he did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and like some other incredible.
And still, those can be fun and weird.
Yeah.
But everybody likes them.
Right. That was a really weird movie, but it was very cool.
Yeah.
And I think probably as commercial as you could bend him into being probably,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tim Burton. That's another good example. He's always seems to be able to get through to everybody, but we were just watching the new
Wednesday.
We were watching the new season of Wednesday last night, and I was like, wow, this is what I love about Tim, because not to spoil anything, but there's a couple animated sections. And there's something about when he does, like, they're flying over a neighborhood. It doesn't quite look real, but it looks very fantastical and fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know what I mean? He still has the magic there, but that's one of the top shows in the world.
Yeah. I remember, what was it? Frankenweenie?
Yeah.
It was like his very first.
Frankenweenie. Yeah, because there's the short version and then the full version.
Short, yeah.
Both are good.
Right, both are great.
And he did the Vincent movie, and then later on he brought Vincent Price to do Edward Scissorhands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he started doing shorts for Disney, right?
Yeah, he was a Disney animator, and then and then another.
Yeah, he's a great artist.
Yeah, he's awesome. You know what's funny? It's like I love Tim Burton, and his name is on Nightmare Before Christmas. It's always Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas.
I'm glad you clarified that. A lot of people don't know that.
But Henry Selick is actually the director of it, who's incredible in his own right. He did like James and the Giant Peach and like
another great movie. But cool. I mean, you're right. There was a lot of that going around too. A lot of people get credit for stuff, or if somebody executive produces something and it's a big name, and then they won't really see who the director is.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's all his characters and his sketches and stuff. And then, but he wasn't hands-on day to day on it, but whatever. I mean, it's still incredible.
It's still amazing.
I still love when Disney flips their Haunted Mansion over now and they make it Nightmare Before Christmas
I haven't
themed.
seen that. That's so cool.
They've been doing it for the last bunch of years.
Wow.
It's cool.
When we talk about creativity, I'm talking about in your brain, the improvisational part of how you use it. Have you ever used that part of your brain to solve a problem in real life?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, what's funny is aside from all of this stuff, a lot of this, I'm behind the computer a lot, like whether it's, writing, scripts or working on storyboards or, designing whatever, doing visual effects. The other hobby I have that's really great and helps me when I'm stressed out is woodworking.
Oh, wow.
Like I've built
all
this stuff and that table and like that treehouse and like all this, So it's great because it's really creative, but it helps in a weird way clear my head, because it's something like that to me is it forces you to be very focused on what you're doing, because these tools can like cut your fingers off or whatever.
Oh, but so are you saying that when you're so hyper focused, you're not worrying about things that are stressing out? So does it give you a mental break
It does,
or an emotional break? Or
both, but it's they're still there. And then after, like, I find myself later in the day, if I come back to just dealing with things, that break has really helped out and has given me enough of a buffer that it wasn't so intense or so extreme where I couldn't.
You had a mental intermission.
Yeah. Like a lot of times when something happens right away, it's hard to, for me at least, to see or rationalize clearly without a little bit of a breath, and doing something like that draws my full attention away helps me give myself that break and come back to things a little more clearly.
Well, here's a question. I don't like cleaning, but obviously I have to. But I have found sometime when I'm like going to the kitchen, I'm going to do the dishes, I'm going to wipe everything off. There's something methodical about that's helping me in the same way as with your woodworking. But I also feel at the end of it, I've accomplished something. So you must, when you're creating like a table, it gave you a break, it helped you mentally, but then you're like, wow, something actually beautiful came out of this.
Right. Have a sense of satisfaction. Yeah. And I find it's funny you mentioned that, you pick up on that, because so much of this business of creativity, of trying to, make content and commercials and whatever, it's totally out of my control. It's nothing I can control. It's like you pitch, but it's all up to other people to like give you that kind of validation or award you the job. But being able to do something with your hands that you can, like a little thing, you're like, oh, I made this little thing. I made this little cool slidey thing. Like, it works. I did something cool. Good for me.
You're in Hollywood. I know you pretty well. I've known you to be pitching hundreds of things, and maybe you pitch 100 things and one or two might happen. Because you do that so much, are you finding, obviously you're using the creative part of your brain to do that, but are you finding you're getting better at the pitching even when you don't get the project? Because you've done it so much, you must know like what works and what doesn't, even if you might not get the job.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Like, I mean, like anything, like if you just, it's repetition. It's like, if you do anything enough, you just get better at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you absolutely start to see patterns, and you can read the room better. And, if you start to get nervous, there's always you start to have a little bag of tricks of, things, not specifically like, I know that's a bag of tricks, but in hindsight, you're like, oh yeah, I kind of feel like I reverted back to this way of explaining it, or, talking to people or whatever. But yeah, no, definitely the pitching, the more you do. And the hard part a lot of times is, a lot of times people aren't really super honest in the room, because they know that you're the person who also created this content that you're pitching. But sometimes they are. And you almost, the thing I found is like putting on two different hats.
Yeah.
Like the guy pitching the content, the thing, is not the same guy who created the thing,
right?
Because then it's too emotional. Right. Then you have your heart is like right there, and then
that's interesting.
You're presenting yourself.
You're not going to take it as personal.
Yeah, and it's so hard, because when you pitch something, if you put your heart and soul in it, that's really what you're pitching, is your heart and your soul and your ideas and you. So it's hard when it gets rejected, or you get notes or criticism. So I've just been able to sort of change hats, or flip a switch, and then go in as the person pitching, not the person who made it. That's helped me.
Well, let me ask you this. So because you've been pitching so long and you've gotten really good at it, is it easier to not take it personally, because now from doing this so many times that if they don't say yes, it really doesn't have anything to do with you or probably your project. They're looking for something certain, and if you don't meet that, it's not your fault. It doesn't mean you did a bad job, right?
Right.
It must be a little easier to handle being rejected.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I always love seeing what it is, or, the spot, or what director got the job, got awarded the thing, or what main title concept this movie went with over ours. Like was there really a better idea? Or like you said, there's so many things at play. The factors that you think you're being judged on very often aren't what you're being judged on. It's things you never could possibly know. Like, oh, I didn't know there was an incumbent pitching who did the last 4 campaigns. They just wanted another person in the room, or like 100 reasons. Oh, it was the art director's brother who's been. It could be anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever pitched to someone didn't get the job, but then the same person accepted you for a different job later.
Oh yeah, that's always the thing too. It's like
it must be important to keep in mind.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like, we like you, but this project doesn't work.
Right,
and then right now.
And then you get a call a few months later or a year later. Yeah, that's happened quite a few times. If anything, it's like a capabilities presentation. Even and then I try to look at all the pitches like that. Like if I'm just getting kind of asked to pitch on one idea or one thing, I'll come in and be like, I get it. I'll give them what they want, but then I try to think of a way bigger, grander, scopy concept.
Right.
It's because it shows more critical thinking or it shows a broader breadth of thinking. So then it's an opportunity. Like every pitch is an opportunity to just meet a new crew of people or clients or whoever.
Make relationships.
Yeah. That's not necessarily just about the thing you're pitching, but it's an opportunity to just meet a new group of people.
Or the people you pitch to might go to lunch later and talk to someone that's looking for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Be like, well, I got the guy for you to talk to.
Right. Totally. Yeah. We just heard ideas from this person.
All right. So tell me a little bit about your 2023 short film, Viva, and what is going on with it now.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. End of 21, I started working on a script called Viva, which was kind of tying a few things back in when I owned Big Machine, my design studio. I was developing projects and optioning comic books and trying to develop, features based on stuff that I thought made me unique. I'm like, what makes me unique? Well, I have this VFX studio and designers and animators, so I can make content like that that other people can't. I wasn't having much success, but then I saw a filmmaker speak, Sean Baker. He's awesome. He did a Nora, Florida Project, Tangerine, like all these great kind of indie films. And he, in his Q&A, he was like, his producer was, why do you make the films you make? And he's like, I try to tell the stories that I feel only I can tell based on where I'm at in life and how I've kind of come here, what makes me special. So I'm like, oh, well, what's that for me? It's not that I have this VFX team behind me. It's that I'm Cuban-American, that I'm, I have like really kind of cool, unique view of two different cultures and worlds and stuff. So I'm not a huge documentary person. So I'm like, how can I tell that story in a narrative way, not make a documentary about it, but so I started taking trips to Cuba and talking to family members, and I found there was so much richness there in just the stories. That's how Viva came to be. So Viva is a story of a Cuban ballet dancer trying to use his talent in dance to like escape the island, to get on a touring company at the Ballet Nacional de Cuba and then leave. And an American businesswoman who's been invited to Cuba by the government to do a business deal. And her character represents the general audience, people that don't necessarily know about Cuba and the hardships.
Oh, interesting.
So she represents like everybody in the audience, and she goes into the movie, into Cuba with that mindset, and then ends up meeting the ballet dancer and kind of pulled out of the world of the government chaperone that's kind of kept her on this very curated view of, what their country's like, and sees the real Cuba. They fall in love, and they both kind of like learn from each other from that.
Right.
So yeah, we made a short.
And what's going on now?
Yeah, we made a show. Well, actually, we were going to make a feature. Had the feature that it started only as a feature. Had the script, had all the materials. I'd scouted Colombia because you can't shoot stuff in Cuba really for many reasons. One is censorship. It's very much like the Ministry of Tourism reads the project and they read it and they're like, no way, because it was it was like anti-government. Right. So no permit. But so I found. I looked around quite a bit and found Cartagena, Colombia doubles visually very closely for Cuba.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of the same architecture, colonial kind of inspiration, and then the beachy kind of towns outside of the main city look exactly like Cuba. Great tax incentive. And so we had most of the money in early 2020, and then pandemic happened. We were set to start shooting in April. And the pandemic happened, and then kind of money fell apart, most of it, and the talent. The little bit of money I had after we came out of the pandemic, I wanted to bring new life back to the project. So I used that money to make the short.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So then I made a short film called Viva to be the proof of concept for the feature. And that's the
one that I've seen.
That's the one you've seen. Yeah. And then now we've been still just, trying to find the bits and pieces and the parts to get the feature.
I always wanted to ask you, one of the things I loved about that movie, because I remember you sent me an early cut, is the colors were so beautiful. Who was the cinematographer who did that?
Thomas Stanton.
God, it was so beautiful. That's the thing that grabbed me right away. I was telling my wife last night, when I hear a song, I won't listen to the lyrics for a while because the music grabs me. So for your film, the first time I watched it, I was just in awe because it looked so beautiful.
Oh,
and then I went back and then understood the story. I don't know if that's
awesome.
unique for me or everybody, but yeah, sometimes you're grabbed by one aspect first, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally. It could be either music or the score, the visuals. And
do you have a favorite movie that you can watch over and over, and every time you watch it, you catch more stuff that you didn't? And for me, that would be Terry Gilliam's Brazil. It's so jam-packed.
Right.
That every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, I never noticed that.
I don't know. Gosh, there's so many that.
Tell me one of them.
Wrath of Khan, Star Trek 2, or Wrath of Khan. Like, yes. I can never, if it happens, I can't change the channel. It's like it's stuck.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. I actually just read an article yesterday that said Ricardo Montalban and William Shatner never filmed scenes together. They had to do it separately.
Right.
I had no idea.
Yeah, when you watch the movie, they were never in the same room together.
But you don't even think about it as a viewer.
No. And how weird is that? Like, each one is acting, they were talking to the other one on a view screen, and they weren't really seeing the view screen. It was just probably somebody reading lines.
Oh, yeah, especially back then.
Back then, So
they didn't have the volume back then.
No. But in I think it was called, gosh, what is it called? The Seed? That was the episode in the original series that he was in.
Right. Oh, right. I forgot about the first part of it.
In the original series, they were in scenes together. But then in the movie, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, they weren't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one I love that film for so many reasons. One of them being Walter Koenig, the actor who played Chekhov, was my next door neighbor.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, when I bought my first house here in North Hollywood.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I remember seeing the house with the real estate agent. We walked through this little 2-bedroom house, and it was cool, whatever. And she's like, trying to sell it, pitch it, and all this stuff. I don't know. I just had my mind was elsewhere. And then as we're walking out, she's like, yeah, that house there lives somebody from Trek Wars something, Star something. I'm like, Star Wars? She's like, no. I'm like, Star Trek? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, who is it? And she's like, I don't know. One of the guys, I'm like, Chekhov? And she said, yeah. I was like, cool. Can I place an offer on the house? Like, I'm not kidding.
That is so cool. I watched the latest episode of South Park the other night. And at one point, they turned Trump's Mar-a-Lago into Fantasy Island. And so, of course, they have Mr. Rourke and everything. That's what Trump is, Mr. Rourke. And I called up my son, and I had to explain to him who Mr. Rourke was, who Tattoo was, about the show. And he didn't get it. And then I go, have you seen Wrath of Khan? The same guy.
And he's like, oh.
Ricardo Montalban.
Yes. Oh, man, he was so awesome.
You had told me that you worked with anamorphic illusion billboards. I always saw these like on TikTok and Instagram stories, and they almost looked too good to be true. So Can you explain to everybody what that is and how you got involved with that work? Because that stuff blows my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's cool and it works. It's a very complicated title for something that the title doesn't suit the visual. Anamorphic billboard is one of those giant digital billboards you see or signs, like it could be in Vegas or Times Square or like, on the side of a giant building in downtown.
It's often a corner, right?
Yeah, a corner. And it's done in a way to make it look like there's depth on the flat screen that you're looking at. So you're either looking like in a fish tank kind of concept where there's a volume of space that goes into the building, or you can make it look like something's coming out of the screen.
Like I saw the Creed one you did. And it's like the boxing gloves were coming out.
Yeah, or like that one I did where Michael B. Jordan is like punching and his fist looks like it's breaking the corner of the screen.
Right.
I've done another one for Magician's Elephant, which was a show on Netflix where like the elephant was flying across the building outside of the screen. So those are really cool, but it's funny because all those anamorphic screens, there's a ton of them in Vegas. I was there this past spring break, up and down the strip. So many hotels have them in front of them and just businesses. They only work from one angle. Like there's one specific spot on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I've never seen one in person.
Yeah, it's one specific spot on the sidewalk. They all work for only one spot. As soon as you take you walk 20 feet in any other direction, the illusion falls apart. It's like those like sidewalk chalk paintings.
Yeah.
That look like stairs going underground.
You have to be at the right angle.
You have to be at the right angle. But it's cool. Yeah, it's a really fun thing. And I think they're really made for social. it's crazy because they're made.
You grab people's attention
on social media of it. Yeah. So it's actually not meant for the live experience because only a very
interesting.
It only works from one perspective.
Right.
It's cool to make it, spend all the money, put it on the side of a giant building, then shoot it from that one perspective, then put it on your channel with millions of followers. Then the channel is what it's crazy.
Yeah. I would love to see one in person. Is the technology similar to the giant sphere in Vegas? Or I haven't been to that, but I just went to Cosm and I saw the Matrix.
Yeah,
and it's like you're inside there.
Yeah.
Is it similar the way that you make it or the way that it works?
Well, it's similar in the way that in order to design something for any kind of specific shaped or angled screen, it's a bunch of math. And you have to like basically, know how to wrap the image around that shape.
Right.
So if it's a sphere on the inside, it's this concave is when it's like in, or if it's a side of a building, you need to be able to like have the dimensions of it and how it wraps around.
Right.
And then you have to kind of do math to unwrap that distortion in your animation program or animation authoring program, like After Effects or whatever you're using to nuke to composite it in or whatever. So it's similar in that sense.
Interesting. Now, is it true that you worked with a Geico lizard?
Yes, I did. His name is Martin, actually. Yeah.
My wife was very excited because we're a big fan of Martin.
Yeah, you are.
What did you do? What did you do with that project?
Oh, it was really cool. I did a bunch of spots with Martin from Geico, the lizard.
He's like Beyonce. He doesn't have a last name. It's just Martin.
It's just Martin.
Right.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's not just a symbol, but like Prince. No, yeah. Martin was really cool. What was crazy about that is I've done a lot of branded content work, which is like when two brands come together to make a spot, to make one spot. So all the TV networks of yesteryear, when TV was a thing, like History Channel and A&E and, before streamers were the thing, they would look at their shows and they look at advertisers and they'd be like, hey, which one of these things has the same audience or demographic? So I've done there's a show on history called Vikings, popular show. And then Geico, they have like kind of the same audience and base. So they did
Who knew?
Yeah. And they were always trying to pair.
Yeah.
Oh, there's like, what was that? Top Gear and then Ford or, Xbox. And they would just find advertisers. Yeah. And TV shows that had the same audience. They take a little bit of money from each one and then they create a spot.
Yeah.
A co-branded spot to do that. So I did a bunch of the Geico ones. The thing is a Geico spot, a real original Geico spot costs millions of dollars to make one spot. The co-branded spots were a fraction of the budget. I mean, they were probably like one spot may have been 120, 150.
And you're splitting the cost between two companies, right?
No, that's the total budget.
Oh, okay.
That each one that we would get. I mean, I'm sure they probably paid more to the network and network kept some and that's all we got. But that's not enough to make original lizard animation, like original Martin animation. So for all the spots I did, what I had to do was they would give me all of the stuff they'd ever rendered of Martin, like with no background. He's a 3D lizard.
Yeah.
So I would get like tons and tons and tons of footage of Martin walking, talking, holding things, grabbing, saying different random lines, looking left, right, up, down, whatever. And we'd have to reverse engineer spots from existing Martin footage.
Almost like a remix.
Yeah. And then we'd have to like know exactly what shot of Martin we had and shoot backgrounds that he could look like he was meant to be there.
Wow.
So it was double hard because unlike the original spots that can just generate him as they needed him and plop him in, they didn't have the money to. So instead they gave me the library of all the Martin stuff ever shot. And what the concept they wanted to have him walking around on a Viking ship talking about insurance. So we would find shots of him walking around holding a phone from angles and we're like, okay, so if we build a Viking ship now and we can put that behind him from this angle, and that's how we worked on Geico spots.
So speaking of Wednesday, you did work with Jenna Ortega a long time ago, right? Could you tell everybody what you did with her?
I cast her in her very first thing ever.
How old was she back then?
Oh man, I don't know. She must have been like 8. I want to say 8 or so. It was before, I forget what show. She was on a really big show on Disney. And of course, she's gone on to all of the fame that she deservedly has gotten.
Right.
But yeah, she was one of those kids, like, it was hundreds of kids for this Colgate commercial I was directing. I mean, it was like a beam of light, like a spotlight. Yeah. She was she radiating and just awesome.
Has a lot of charisma.
Has so much charisma as a kid. The one thing I remember, it was this cool little fun spot that we made these animated little germs called invisible nasties that live in your mouth, and you have to brush them out, And so she had this giant spiel, like pages of dialogue that she had to recite to talk about how to brush and use a dollop of toothpaste and do circles and gentle circles and all this stuff. Well, this little 8-year-old who'd never done anything before ever, we gave her these pages of dialogue, and she was like, I checked in with her mom like a couple of days before. I'm like, hey, how's Jenna doing? Is she memorizing okay? She's like, her mom's like, yeah, she's good with memorizing. She's good. Don't worry about the memorization. I'm like, okay, cool. We showed up on set, and the agency, VML was the agency. The agency guys come over to me with all new pages. They rewrote everything.
Brand new sides.
Brand new sides that morning. Like nothing was the same.
Oh my God.
And it was like 2 pages.
That's making me nervous right now.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, hang on. So I had everything planned as kind of like a oneer. I'm going to have to do coverage because we're probably going to have to feed her lines. We didn't have a prompter because we were like, oh, she memorized it all. We're like, oh. Right. So I go over to her, and like her and her mom were there. And I'm like, hey, sorry. They literally just changed all the dialogue. And without even, I don't think Jenna wasn't even that engaged. Her mom was like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm like, but we don't have a prompter. We're like, what? Should we chat this through? She's like, nope, don't worry about it. We got this. Like, okay. About an hour later, she has like a photographic memory.
Wow.
It was incredible. Like
I've got a friend like that. That's
like, I mean, didn't miss a beat. Like, and then as we were adjusting things and they were changing words on the fly, no problem. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Wow.
That's probably the closest I'll ever get to Saturday Night Live. Did you see it?
Oh, the movie?
No, on SNL when she hosted SNL.
Oh no, I didn't see when she was on yet. But it's funny. I listened to the podcast Fly on the Wall, which is Dana Carvey and David Spade, and they have only people that have been on Saturday Night Live, and they talk about the terror of, they changed all the lines the last second, and everything is on a teleprompter. So when you're watching, they're pretty much reading for the first time.
Right.
Try not to look at the camera.
Right.
And you would never know that.
Wow.
So, wow. How was she when she was on?
Well, that was the greatest treat. I hadn't I'm a fan. So when she's on, I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to check this one out, this episode. She comes out on the opening monologue and she's like, you guys may know me from, she was promoting like Wednesday and, her other awesome stuff she's done. But here's where I got my start. And she showed my commercial.
Oh my God, really?
On SNL.
What?
So she shows the spot where she's a cute little kid with these invisible nasty characters on her shoulders. And SNL did a fun remix to it where they like made it all dark and, evil. They're like, because it was Jenna who's like.
You must have, if I were you, I'd like stand up and be like, oh my God.
I did. I immediately called everybody that ever worked on that I remember that worked on that, at the time. I'm like, oh my God, I called the DP. I called my old business partner. I called,
That's amazing.
It was cool.
First quote is from Ridley Scott. He once said, I think at the end of the day, filmmaking is a team, but eventually there's got to be a captain. What are your thoughts from all your experience?
Yeah, no, that's an awesome quote. Very well encapsulated how it all works. Because if not, everybody, it just would turn into creative by committee, and then there's no vision. So, I mean, that's kind of why films have the kind of feel or fingerprint of different filmmakers.
Right.
Why like a Denis Villeneuve movie feels like a Villeneuve movie, or a Sam Raimi movie feels like a Sam Raimi movie.
Following that vision.
Yeah. It's like you have everybody working towards the same kind of goal and vision, which is cool.
We were talking earlier about a movie you and I both love, Prey, the Predator movie. Directed by Dan Trachtenberg, I believe. He once said, the reason I think we hold films like The Sixth Sense and Citizen Kane in such high regard is those are movies that were amplified by the twists, but were already bringing the goods.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
How can you relate to that?
That's it's very astute and very well put. I just saw 2 movies this summer that could relate to this quote. So you had I Know What You Did Last Summer, the remake that came out. Just saw it. Didn't like it at all personally. And then I just saw last night Weapons.
Yeah.
Incredible movie. Loved it. Also a horror movie. So the thing I did not like about I Know What You Did Last Summer is it was one of those movies where it was, there was somebody killing a group of friends. There's a bad character, the bad guy in the movie.
Right.
And all of a sudden in the very last act, it's revealed that it's some character that had not really been introduced, or there weren't breadcrumbs set or anything.
Right. There's no way that you could have solved it.
There's no way as an audience member I could have been like, I bet it's Malcolm, or
right.
There's no way. Weapons did kind of the same thing, but it was so good. Like
interesting.
They also revealed in the third act, like when all the movie comes together, but it was just great throughout. Like the way it was put together, the fabric, the nuts and bolts of it, the characters,
it just kept you engaged.
It totally kept you engaged. And like, I just felt cheap, like kind of cheaped out, by the way, I Know What You Did, kind of how it all like landed the plane. It just was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
And I just felt so rewarded by the end of the journey on this other horror film that had kind of the same mechanic, but the way it got there was different. So, I don't know. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. It's got to be a delicate balance to make it work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Another one of my favorite people in the world is your daughter, Vi. There's nobody like Vi. She's so cool, so funny, so kind, so compassionate. The reason why I bring her up is tell everybody about the film that she made.
Oh, thanks.
And let's just tell everybody, she's still only 11, right?
Just turned 12.
Just turned 12.
Yeah, she just turned 12. She's awesome. She's always been my horror movie buddy. So my wife, totally scared of horror movies. So since
just you two watching.
Yeah. Since it was just Vi and I, like very little, I've been taking her to horror movies. I will check and make sure there's nothing too insane that'll scar her for life.
Yeah, by the way, I think I told you this a lot of times when I was in school there. She's like, my dad won't let me watch this one movie. Can you tell me what happens?
Oh, really? Oh my God, it's awesome. But yeah, so we've been, horror fans, her a lifelong horror fan and stuff. So this one day, my wife is suffering and struggling, dealing with a hearing loss.
Right.
So she got a hearing aid. She had a hearing aid and she brought home a new one like about a year or so ago. And I don't know, it was one night and she's like, you guys want to try this on? It's crazy. It's weird. And we're like, sure. So we go in her office and I put it in. I'm like, whoa, it's cool. You can hear like super hearing if you have. And then Vi puts it in and she just turned 11, just 10 to 11, I think. And I don't know, she was, there was some interference or something because these new hearing aids are all also Bluetooth and they're all connected to things.
Oh, right. So there's all kinds of frequencies.
It was picking up something weird and stuff. And she was like, whoa. And like, do you hear that? And we were like, no. And we tried it on. And when I stood where she was standing, there was static. And I was like, oh, that's what's going on. The next day, she wrote this cool story about a kid who put a hearing aid in and was hearing like a spirit and a ghost. And that's the voice. Yeah. Spooky story. Yeah, like it all kind of came together. But it was cool because it was, I think, her way of understanding and dealing with her mom's, hearing loss and like what it was.
I never thought of that. I didn't know the backstory. Okay.
Yeah, it was neat. And then it was really cool. And I was telling a buddy of mine who works in the business and he's like, man, that's a great idea. Like he owns a grip and electric company. And he's like, if you want to shoot a short, I'll help you. And I'm like, sure. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. But then we turned her short story into a screenplay. Yeah. Like a 9-minute film. And then that's how we made the short.
I think she should get credit for that in high school. They give you credits for working outside of school. I think somehow we should call the people in power and get credit for her school.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
What can I help you promote? So if people want to find out what you're up to or someone wants to hire you, what social media are you on and which website should they go to?
Yeah, thanks. My main website is stevep.tv, P like my last name, Petersen.
Right.
And there you can see all of my, both the way you introduced me as creative director with all of my kind of entertainment marketing work and branding and anamorphic screens and commercials. And then the live action commercial directing work is also on there too. So you can see all the commercials and
And so I saw that there's a website for vivafilm.net, but they could just go to your main website and that would take them there.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, you can go to the main website and find Viva on there under like the long form stuff and link to the film website.
And what social media are you most prevalent on?
Mostly Instagram.
Yeah.
That's Steve P _TV.
Right. And they can see day to day what you're up to.
Yeah. You can see woodworking projects or pizzas being made in my pizza oven. Like, I don't know.
All right, Steve Petersen, thanks so much for talking to me today. We only did the tip of the iceberg, so would you agree to do this again in the future?
Yeah, anytime.
Awesome.
Of course, man.
All right, thanks.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
All right.
See you.